Good afternoon, folks. This is Robert Chappell, Executive Editor, Madison365, with your daily update for uh, Tuesday, February 9th. It's been kind of a long day already, to be honest with you. And I'm sorry we're running late today for the update, but there's been a lot going on regarding Sun Prairie School District, which we'll start with that because it's kind of I don't know, it's kind of a big deal. You might remember a week ago, yesterday, we had the story of, and so did everybody else, and the story kind of went national, that a sixth grade class there was subjected to this question. On the first day of Black History Month, the sixth graders were asked, "A slave stands before you. The slave has disrespected his master by telling him, 'You are not my master.' How will you punish this slave?" Now, this was in the context of a history lesson on Hammurabic Code, which is one of the first legal codes in the world. So they were using examples of infractions and asking what our punishments would be versus Hammurabic Code punishments. There are 282 Hammurabic codes. You didn't have to use the slavery one, but they did. That obviously caused some harm among Black students. Now, yesterday, I should say, we learned several different organizations, YWCA, Transformative Action Network, and then a couple of just Sun Prairie families sent letters to the school district expressing their outrage over this. The one of them sort of demanded that an administrator there named Stephanie Leonard Whitty be fired because she's the assistant superintendent for teaching, learning, and equity. So diversity, inclusion, and equity is part of her job, and they lobbied for her to be fired because I think this is evidence that she's not doing a good enough job. So the school district wrote back and said, "We're not going to fire her, and here's all the reasons why. Here's everything she's accomplished." And to be honest, everything I've heard from sources speak very highly of her specifically. But they said, we're not going to fire her, but tune in to the school board meeting tonight. We'll have some more information for you. Okay, so being a journalist, I decided to tune in to the school board meeting. A couple of items came out of that. First of all, they were very clear that this was wrong. There was no equivocation. There was no but in context, or anything like that. It was purely like, this was wrong, full stop. They also were very clear that this was not district-approved curriculum, that the teachers had gotten this from somewhere else, and that the teachers were still on administrative leave. These teachers have not set foot in a classroom or virtual classroom since last Monday. Multiple teachers, they haven't told me how many or who they are exactly, but these teachers are still on leave. They also said that they will hire a full-time equity director, which is also one of the demands from the parent group. And it's something that people around the community have been talking about for a couple of years now, that Sun Prairie is a growing district. It's a diversifying district. They need somebody to run, whose sole job is to do diversity and equity and make sure that everything has that good racial justice lens. So we don't have situations like this come up. And they did commit to create and hire that position by July 1st. That's decent news. Then the secondary school level director of teaching, learning, and equity, Sarah, and I apologize, I don't know how to pronounce her full last name, but it's Chaja, Shaja, I think, Shaja Clardy. Spoke about other next steps, and this is one of the things she presented. Consultation with YWCA on the creation of restorative circle discussions. Seek to partner with Transformative Action Network. Courageous Conversations Global Foundation, which is a national organization. All of this in the name of restorative justice to repair relationships, build trust. And this is what she actually said. I'm going to read this quote. Beginning this week, so that's the slide that she's showing, and this is what she's saying. Beginning this week, we are planning for restorative circles for our staff members and subsequently Patrick Marsh students. Patrick Marsh is the middle school where this happened. In our 6th grade classes that were most directly involved in the incident, to create a space for understanding and to begin healing. Also, been working in consultation with the YWCA, whose mission is to eradicate racism and empower women, and partnering with an organization that is deeply steeped in restorative work will allow us to ensure that we have the right decision in our circle discussions to be able to address the local and immediate needs of the Patrick Marsh community. Now, anytime you hear something like that as a journalist, you have to verify it, right? It's just kind of the nature of the beast. When you're a reporter, you're just kind of skeptical of everything, right? The old saying is, if your mother says she loves you, source it. Get another source. Check it out. Don't believe anybody at any time. So last night at about this meeting's at 6, so by this time it's about 6:45 or so. I reached out to the CEO of YWCA, who said, "No, there's no such partnership. I don't know what you're talking about." This is intriguing. So I double checked to make sure. Like, are you sure? There's nothing happening. No, like ongoing thing that maybe they're trying to oversell. Nope. No, there's no contract. There's no partnership. Nothing. So I tweeted that. The State Journal picked up on that, and then they called Vanessa, the CEO of the YWCA, got her on the record with the State Journal as well. So that's kind of where it landed. And then later in the evening, the PR person, ignoring me now for some reason, but responds to the State Journal and says that no, what she meant was that she had spoken to a member of the YWCA Restorative Justice staff, and that he was helping to provide technical assistance with restorative practices, which is somewhat different than we are partnering with an organization dedicated to eradicating racism, right? So today, I got word from a source with the school, who works in the school district, that they were going to put out a statement because they didn't appreciate that we were saying that they were not being truthful. Aaron, this is actually good background that Aaron Proctor just put in the comments, and I'm going to mention this because it is actually important that her background, Sarah's background, is actually important. And I would also say that the source that I spoke to this morning about this said that Sarah is one of the best hires Sun Prairie School District has made in many years. That she's doing a terrific job. She's brand new there. As you mentioned, she was the principal at Cherokee Heights in Madison until just recently, and actually has not even worked at Sun Prairie during non-COVID times. So she's like working in the school district, hasn't even met anybody who works there yet, which is a tough situation. So what we found out today is that Sarah, in doing her diligence and trying to craft the district response, reached out to Bill Baldwin, who is the restorative justice manager for YWCA, with whom she had worked when she was principal at Cherokee Heights, because the Madison Metro School District has a contract with YWCA to provide this restorative justice kind of service to help resolve conflicts and behavior issues and stuff in the schools. So having worked with Bill before, she thought, well, Bill would probably be a good resource. So reaches out to Bill. Bill says, sure, happy to help. She says, we can pay you, meaning Bill, as an individual, not YWCA. He says, no, it's okay. I'll help you out for now. I'll kind of volunteer to help out. And maybe like next summer, YWCA can contract and do some training or something like that. So, hi, Brandy. I thought you might enjoy this. So Bill then does a little bit of work, helps start to craft a script for some retortive circles, that kind of thing, over the weekend. Monday, Vanessa sends an open letter from YWCA to Sun Prairie, just expressing their outrage over the original incident. Sarah responds to that and says, just so you know, I was talking with Bill over the weekend, and he's been really helpful. And Vanessa says, oh, okay, thanks for letting me know that, because she didn't know that before. And that was it. There's literally no partnership agreement between school district and YWCA. So now, by my just during that school board meeting last night, reaching out to Vanessa McDowell at YWCA, I have now made a really difficult day now for Sun Prairie, because Sun Prairie put out a 10-page, I don't know, it's not even a press, it's more like an affidavit than a press release. 10 pages of screenshots of text messages and all this proof that they think proves that they are actually in consultation with YWCA. But just the fact that Sarah offered to pay Bill as an individual, which that's the right thing to do when you're asking a Black person to help you do restorative justice. You offer to pay them for their time and their expertise, right? So that's, good for her for that. But obviously she's not entering into contract with the organization, the YWCA, right? She's offering to pay Bill to do this work for her. And as Vanessa said to me, she knows the steps. She's worked with YWCA before in a contractual situation. She knows how to get a contract with YWCA, and she knows the difference. And she should have been more clear about the difference. So in some sense, it's kind of misunderstanding that she goes back to the school district and says, I talked to Bill from YWCA. Somebody kind of oversells that on a slide. But then she is pretty clearly in her comments is we are working with the YWCA, not with this guy I know from YWCA. So yeah, messy is this is an interesting. It's a good assessment, so thank you. Now I have learned, and I haven't seen it yet. I'm trying to see if I've that. No, okay. That the Transformative Action Network, Bill is also on the board of the Transformative Action Network, which operates under Dane County Time Bank. So he also just kind of casually mentioned that maybe this other organization could also help, Transformative Action Network. Which, if you look at the way they worded this on this slide, it clearly says they will seek to partner with Transformative Action Network, which is a much more honest and transparent characterization. They haven't actually done that yet, but they're seeking to. They're going to seek to, which is probably what they would have said also about YWCA. You could say we've got a restorative justice expert working with us. We hope to work with the YWCA in the future. That would have been, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now, and we would have been. Talking about the new person they're going to hire to do equity work instead, which is really should be the headline out of this story. But because they just were overselling this, and to be fair, I mean, this is there's 20 slides. This is one slide out of 20 that they took a misunderstanding and oversold this relationship with YWCA. But YWCA does not appreciate the school district using their name for cover, right? Which is kind of what's happening here. The school district is saying we're good because we are working with YWCA. When you say the word YWCA, you have this it's almost like you're claiming an endorsement from YWCA, right? When they have not contacted the YWCA, they have no agreement with the YWCA. They have spoken with one employee of the YWCA. That's very different. And they didn't need to say any of this stuff, to be honest. So anyway, that's the Sun Prairie story. I'm going to be typing that up because I just have gotten all this material in the last hour or two. So anyway, that's the whole thing there. We have some other news to get to. A few additional things. First of all, let me recap on the national level. I don't know if you've been watching the Senate. There's a trial in the Senate. Well, first of all, today there was sort of a pre-trial in which the Senate voted 56 to 44 to proceed with the trial. Because the question initially was, is this even constitutional to have a trial for a guy who's no longer the president? And clearly it is. Like, obviously it is. He was impeached while he was president. And people have been impeached, like not presidents, but other federal officials have been impeached like years after they left office. So there's precedent for this. But in making the arguments for that, the Democratic impeachment managers from the House of Representatives opened with a 13-minute video that is absolutely frightening, terrifying. If you get a chance to watch it, find it on C-SPAN. I didn't post it just because it's like so I don't know, frightening that it could be like actually triggering for people. But see if you can find it. It's on C-SPAN. But it sort of juxtaposes Trump speaking with what's happening in the Capitol and what's happening in the chambers of Congress and stuff, and just kind of laying out the case that, like, obviously Trump incited this. And it's pretty compelling and pretty frightening. I'm not even sure that the arguments, and then they laid out the case that, like, obviously this is constitutional. It's happened before. We can have a trial. We can convict him, even if we're not going to remove him from office because the voters already did that. We can still bar him from holding future office, and we can put all this stuff in the record. And that's also important to do. So then the Trump's lawyers made arguments that weren't particularly coherent, that I couldn't quite suss out, but I'm not a lawyer. But in the end, the Senate did vote to move forward. So beginning tomorrow, will it be the actual trial? It's not clear whether they'll call any witnesses. It might. But each side is going to have 16 hours to present their case. By contrast, in the last impeachment trial a year ago, each side had 24 hours total. Not like a 24-hour period, but like 24 hours of speaking time on the floor. And that one took about 3 weeks. So if you cut that down to 16 hours, if they don't have witnesses, this thing could be done in a few days, probably, maybe a week. So we'll see. But it sounds like they're going to run it mostly in the afternoons, which means they still will be able to do some business in the mornings. They did some voting and some debating on the COVID relief package this morning before the trial got underway at 1 this afternoon, right at noon Central Time, 1 o'clock Washington time. There are actually pretty it's not a bad idea. The thing is that I don't think the Senate can't offer immunity from federal prosecution. I don't think, but I like the idea. And there are some of them who've already said, like the QAnon shaman guy said he had asked for a pardon. They all asked for pardons and didn't get them. So now they're willing to testify against them. I don't know if they would make really credible witnesses in the Senate. So I'm not sure that they want to go there, but I don't hate the idea. All right, a couple other local news items for you today. Shiva Bidar is the former president of the Common Council. She's the vice president of diversity and inclusion at UW Health. And she is the first subject of a new feature we have called 12 Rounds. We used to do a thing. If you've been with Madison365 for a while, if you've been following us for a while, you might remember 12 on Tuesdays, where our CEO Henry Sanders would ask people 12 questions, and we'd post them, and we'd post their interviews on Tuesdays, 12 on Tuesdays. We're basically revamping that. We're reviving that with a new name, 12 Rounds. It's a bit of a pun because our CEO Henry Sanders was a regional champion boxer back in the day. It's every subject gets 6 of the questions that are the same and 6 questions tailored to themselves. Some of them are serious, like, what is your purpose in life? What would you, if you could go back in time and tell yourself something, what would you say? And some of them are fun, like, do you prefer Kevin Hart or Cat Williams? Coffee or tea? That kind of thing. So just to get to know some people you might not know very well, like Shiva, from a more personal standpoint. So check that out. It's on the website this morning at Madison365.org. We learned today that President Joe Biden, will be in Milwaukee on Tuesday. We've got the details of that event. It doesn't sound like it's going to be a really big in-person event, but he's going to visit Milwaukee on Friday. So we will have continuing coverage of that for you. And finally, sad news today. One of the founding members of the Supremes has died at the age of 76. Mary Wilson, one of the co-founders of that Motown group. I mean, and honestly, one of the founders of Motown, has unfortunately passed away suddenly. Like, she wasn't sick for a long time or anything. She passed rather suddenly on Monday night. So sad news from the world of entertainment. And that is the news I have for you today. We were going to take a short break. Got a word from Milwaukee Film Festival, and we'll be back, and I'll go over COVID numbers, which are continue to be, okay. More deaths today to report, unfortunately, but the actual numbers are getting better. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
A year ago, our world changed, yet so many things remain the same. We still drink our coffee black, because that's how we like it. G hasn't moved his shop, and Alice's garden still grows, even in the cold. We still paint murals that celebrate our culture and honor our community. Sherman Phoenix is still standing, and Black Lens is still showing movies. Only now they're on your TV. A year ago, our world changed, yet so many things remain the same. We still go to work, school, and raise our kids one day at a time. We laugh, love, and live, all in the same breath, and fight the good fight, even when we have no fight left in us. It's who we are, it's where we come from, and it's what we do. We are survivors, overcomers. We are Milwaukee.
And welcome back. We one thing I want to say about the film festival is that they're having a lot of Black History Month programming, as you just saw. We are actually helping them host a couple of those panel discussions. One more tomorrow night. It's at 6 p.m. It's a tender. It's Girl Dads is what it's called. Girl Dads, Tender Masculinity. Look at tender masculinity. And then tomorrow, that's tomorrow night. And Thursday night is a live Black Oxygen panel hosted by Black Oxygen host Angela Russell. It's also at 6 p.m. And both of those are going to be streamed live right on our Facebook page. So if you're watching it here, you can watch those tomorrow night and Thursday night. Now, to the COVID numbers, which again are not terrible, not great. 681 new cases today, which again, we've been under 1,000 for a few days. Which is good. 4,168 new tests today. So about 16% It doesn't seem right. It's more like 28% positive for the day, but don't put much stock in that. The most important number is that of all tests in the past 7 days, 4% have been positive. Now, remember, the number we're trying to get to is 3. So we're getting there. Now, nothing magic happens at 3. It's not like we hit 3, then we can all go to concerts again. But if we're under 3, I'm feeling much better that we have it under control, and I feel much better about having schools open and stuff like that. I can tell you the reason my kids are going back to school 2 days a week is, first of all, our school district is doing a good job of keeping all the kids in their pods, their little groups of 10, and isolating them and being masked and all that sort of thing. But also the Dane County test positive rate is under 2. So to be at 4 for the entire state, is headed in the right direction. And if the entire state gets to be under 3, then we can talk about, I don't know if we can talk really about relaxing a lot of restrictions, but we can at least kind of breathe a sigh of relief that we might be nearing the end of this thing. Right? Now, we did hear today of a second case of the B117 variant, which is the variant that basically caused England to shut down again. We don't really have community spread of that variant yet confirmed. But if that takes hold, we might have a problem again. These numbers might start going back up. So let's keep doing what we're doing, keep the spread under control, and in so doing, also keep that variant under control. Because that variant it's not necessarily more dangerous to you as an individual. It is more dangerous to the population because it is much more contagious than the strain that we've all been seeing so far. Okay. We also have 39 new fatalities reported today, and that brings the total to 6,094, which is a lot. Our average number of new cases per day is down to 970. We're below 1,000 on the average of new cases every day, that's a good thing too. So again, all these numbers are headed in the right direction. It's important to keep doing what we're doing. We don't want to, how they say when you I used to get like strep throat or something or an ear infection, they give you 10 days worth of antibiotic, and they say take it all. Even if you start to feel better after a couple of days, you got to keep taking it to really, really make sure you're all healed. We have to do that. We can't be like, okay, we did it. The numbers are good. Now we can go party again. The numbers are good because we're not partying again. Okay. Right. The numbers are good because we are doing things the way we should have been doing them all along. So keep doing it. And get your vaccines when you can, right? We know that at least in Dane County, there's a bit of a racial gap in vaccine distribution, which we hope once more vaccines get taken care of, that will even out. But it's tough when you're sort of restricted in how many you can give out. But I'm just going to look real quick right now because because of everything else that's going on. I haven't had a chance to look at the vaccines for today. But what I can tell you now, so I'm just looking at it right now for the first time. We are at 174,215 have completed their vaccine. And that is, let me see, that's about that's what I thought, 8,845 people have finished their vaccine since yesterday. That's pretty good. We're at 779,000 total doses given, which means that there's probably about 450,000 people who've gotten their first dose and are waiting for the second. That also means that about 4.4% of the adult population has been vaccinated. So it's a start. It's taken us about a month to get there. Okay. So to get to 80%, it's going to take another 2 years at this pace. So we have to ramp it up. You know, that to say we got 174,000 people, that sounds great. 8,800 people since yesterday sounds great. We still got 2 years to go at this pace. Okay, which means it's going to have to ramp up, and it will. I'm pretty sure it will. Unfortunately, will it ramp up before the new variants take hold? Will it ramp up before we let our guard down? You know, we'll see. So don't let your guard down. Keep it up, and we will together beat this thing. So, thank you for all the kind words, you guys. Everybody's been very nice today. Appreciate it. So that's all I have for you today. Support local news. I just got into an exchange on Twitter today with somebody where I was advocating for keeping the news free. Somebody doubted. Somebody said people aren't going to support local journalism just because it's the right thing to do. And I said, yes, they will. And I know they will because my people do. My community supports local journalism. I know that because I've seen all the donations come in this year. So if you want to continue to support local journalism, send us a few bucks. It's a tax-deductible donation, Madison365.org/donate, and we'll keep this thing free for everybody. So appreciate it. Again, enjoy the rest of your evening. Stay warm out there, and we will see you again tomorrow.
This is 365 Media.